We have some sound? Okay. I'll just speak loudly. My name is Mark Rothi Rinpoche. It's my honor as Executive Director of Karma Triyana to welcome you here once again. We Buddhist students are taught that to be embodied in human form is a rare event, and it can be very fortunate under certain circumstances. We are fortunate to be in a land, reside in a land where the Dharma is taught, and to have the preconditions for study. We are especially fortunate to have encountered the teachings of the Kagyu lineage in its pure form, and to have encountered great teachers such as His Holiness Karmapa, yourself, Venerable Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, and others. So we say welcome, and we staff also welcome all KTB members and guest visitors here. We staff are far from perfect, but we will try to be useful to you in your Dharma practice. Please let us know if there's anything we can do. One logistical matter is that we have a slight, not an overwhelming, but a slight water problem. So if you're staying here, please take adequate but not luxurious showers, and unless you just can't stand it, in which case forget about it. You might try the porta potty once. Welcome, Rinpoche.
Tene tatari ngaran tanda tajong kamapake densa KTD la charju ke kokap chunga kapndar chenam batanjal pe yapu chunga la te kapsala tangbo chenam bacherdo tene tambe chuchu gola hyo ne tambe chu la Shubala to the Cheta. The Nitambichu Gola Hune, the Shupa Tomdon Maze, the Nitambicula Jang, Tambichu Nyams Lane, the Ninawala Pe, tujiche, hyujiche tang, teni te tsamdo yung maze, teni tanda tari che namba, jang kama baga densa, dero tangpe chu la, tu samse pa tong tangpe chu la, nyamlin sepe kapsa la, pep ne ta tari jinti chunga la, pe gabu chang la, tiga kokap te la tenne, ta tanda, chaja chimpo che, chaja chimpo ke sonde te, rehi dudu je hyuju chunga, pe kalpa sampo chung.
It's wonderful for me now to come here to the seat of the Gyalwang Karmapa, KTD, and to have this opportunity to meet all of you here. It's very wonderful, and I'd like to thank you all very much for first having entered the gate of the Dharma. Not only have you entered the gate of the Dharma, you've also been studying and practicing the Dharma, and I'd like to thank you for that as well. And not only that, you have come to the seat of the Gyalwang Karmapa. You are listening and contemplating. You are practicing the Dharma, and this is a really wonderful opportunity. We've had this chance to meet here, and so I'm very happy to have this opportunity to see you and to explain the Vajradhara lineage prayer briefly.
Tene ta teya tanda jirdo ta chaja chimpi mengo te ta tanda tumo mayimpe mengo tene sa la la tene tenchewa tene teya tanda jitang tuji tang tumi namba niye penang ne ta tuji ke ondo siya na yedam lai jerem tong tene salang naro chudu ke zorem la so pa ngaran su nyamlin nangi ware la te tabu nang kaps la ya tene chaja chimpu ke tene nelu nyam su nyong ta chaja chimpu gamba te pe kal chewa re la te tsam de yo ma ze ya kap kap la ta te tabu ke ko kap me pa ta te tabu ke tu chi ke nyamlin se ju ke tu kap me pa tabache yenayo shaja chenpo changpa nyamli nanaya teni tela teni chodong tumong ka ngudu topa teni dangwa cheparto papa yinpe cherna teni che namba ka tanda shaja chenpo chitang ka tudong namba jendu nyamli nangwa ta teni tari ka kapsula ngarang ke shaja chenpo ka kor te hyuju chungwa te yang kokap zangpo yinpe cherna teni ta te pe mesi pe yapo chung tene ta te yapo chung wa tsam tang yung ma zi tene te che tang ke che nam pe ke sen te sen ne tene nyam su long ne tene sen da tong che wa shima kanga la pe pen to chenpo yung ke re song pe ke rewa tang te ngarang ke rewa tsam ma yin pa teni cherto jang kama pa kontin naram to sempa tam chi che tuje to sela te yen to kaji seri tiwa rambar sempa tam chi che tuje to sela la teni ta pento ja chempo jung re sambre wa yo.
These instructions on Mahamudra they're particular instructions. They're instructions that are easy to do, and yet they also have a great purpose and a great meaning. Generally, when we do Dharma practice, there are practices that involve complications and practices without any complications. So practices that involve complications are like the visualization practices of the Yidam deity, the creation phase practices, or the completion stage practices of the 6 yogas, and so forth. And when you practice these, if you have they're a way to have the experience of the nature of Mahamudra and to meditate upon this. And so this is very important and a wonderful thing to do. And so if you But sometimes you don't have the opportunity to do these practices, these complicated practices, and you only can do the uncomplicated practices. And so in that time, if you can do the practice of Mahamudra, this is something that can eventually bring you to the supreme and ordinary accomplishments. These are the wonderful instructions that you can bring you to this result. And so you all practice Mahamudra regularly, and so especially for me to come here and to be able to teach Mahamudra is a very good opportunity, and it's really turned out very well. Not only that, you all can listen to these instructions. When you listen to them, you can practice them. And when you practice them, these are something that will bring you benefit in this life and in your future lifetimes. They will bring you a great benefit. And so this is the hope that I have, but it's not just my hope. Because of the compassion and the blessings of all of the incarnations of the Karmapa, and because of the compassion and blessings of all of the members of the Golden Garland of Kagyu lineages, I'm certain that they will bring you great benefits. So I hope that they bring you benefit.
Tusum ne ya ne chepartum papa ta jang kama pe sinjila pe dansare tene ta te dansa chepartum papa re dansa chepartum papa imbate ya cerdo ta jang kama pate tene tanda jivu chepartum papa tene chitanga on de se na ta jitin che khangla jagar papa yurta pe konjin ji jongdong tene jana ke sande la sopala tene sanchu samba cheparchi jibu cheparchi mambo chambare la chambare te na ne chepartum papa tene tanda pe konjin ji jongso tene tambe chu tambo tar ne jang yen rendo temba manyam par ne parela te temba manyam par ne pate kang tujela tene chumare se na ta chitang tenzing ki jibo tongchi ji temba chungwa la tene chumare la tenzing ki jibo nam ji temba chung kapsula ya ta tenzing ki jibo tongchi chane tene ta tangbo kontrong tene chu nyamle na tene tangbe chu pel tene ta gungrung thombo la pepe ka so ko nyangi lende ne tene ko si tik ten la tene tambe chu ke pelwe ke tene te nang na te chang ke yin rimbo yo mare tene temba pelwa ta temba chong ke dugap nda bo ke ro yo mare tene ta te la tene jang ka ma pa tene ke mese chik ke tando main pa tene tru ko yang ni yang do semba tene chitang ta pela turku chungare la pela turku chung thoma te jang kama pa chungare tene turku chung gu pe junsen te khandi chire se na tanda kondo ki pa yendo tene ko se tek ten la tambe chu temba ta tambe chu pel gu na te chang ta mese sing te yen rimbo yo mare la tene tene te ju ju thugi yo mare la tene di tene te ju ju ma so bala tene te ju ju bu ki chedola yangjar to ko chewa ye ne tene temba te pel na tene temba te pel ke chachin zamba tene temba te pel ke chachin yen rendo ro tabu yin pe cherna tene chok tro ko rimbar sembe ke tombo te jang kama pa semba la tene jang kama pa ke tene te yong su chap ne tene pe konjin ji jong su song ji temba tar ne temba te yen rimbo la ne tene te yang te lip me pandavo nya ne to pa te ta zo tene tenzing ki ji bo tham ji tene re ti na ne misal to jang kama pa ke tene la ten chore.
This place where we are practicing Mahamudra, this place where we're listening and contemplating to Mahamudra is a wonderful place. This is the site that has been blessed by the Gyalwang Karmapa. And so this is his seat. This is a really wonderful seat of the Karmapas. And it's the seat of one of the great beings. It's the seat of the Gyalwang Karmapa, who is really one of the greatest of beings there are. Of course, in all of the world, in India, and Tibet, and China, and other lands, there have been many great bodhisattvas who have appeared. There have been many great individuals who have appeared. But among all of these, the greatest of all of them is, he is the greatest of all of them. In Tibet, when the Tibet first spread, then it was able to remain without disappearing for a long time. And so how is it that this happened? This happened because of all of those great beings who upheld the teachings, who were able to maintain their activity and uphold the teachings. And so first they would take birth, they would practice the Dharma, and then they would be able to spread the Dharma. Then when they pass away, then when they would get old, they would pass away into nirvana. So this is, and if you do this in one lifetime, then that actually the activity of spreading the Dharma cannot really go too far. There's not a whole lot of opportunity in one lifetime to spread and maintain the Dharma. So the Gyalwang Karmapa has done this not just for one lifetime, but he has sent back emanation after emanation from lifetime after lifetime. And so that in Tibet, the Dharma has been able to spread. And so the first tulku in Tibet was the Gyalwang Karmapa. And so what is the reason for being the tulku? It's as I just said. In a single lifetime, you haven't got a whole lot of a chance to spread the Dharma and to perform activity. A lifetime is just not all that long. And so if you continue from lifetime after lifetime, then you can get all the facilities together that you need to get together, and you can continue the activity and really spread the teachings. And so, in particular, this is why the teachings they've been able to maintain the teachings and spread the teachings for such a long time. And so the first being to have done this was the Gyalwang Karmapa. And so his activity has thus spread all over. Because it has spread all over, the teachings have spread in Tibet, and they've been able to remain for a long time. And so this happens, of course, because of the activity of all those beings who uphold the teachings. But in particular, it has happened because of the activity of the Karmapa.
Tene tateya temba manyampa te surza manyampa tane tabata tende jongwa rela tene tateya temba manyampa tembe sur manyampa jongwa sepala tene chitanga on the sena marab jendro gyore marab la jendro kapso tene jay sani kahila tambe chuge taroge tinjin zamba 산에 가시라 담비추 따르게 tinchi 만zam바 되네 담비추 따르게 갈진 여바 다 tin데 라만다 단 지팅치 감생긴데 못아바 송도 용기 와라 대 용왕라 때네 제바동 틀네 짱게 탑자 되네 산에 가시라 보고 본다고 다 tin데 컨트린체게 산에 현다지라 추페르나 컨트린체게 산에 현다지라 추페르고 본다고 다 tin데 만다와 용기 여바 제다 Tenen zebatilne gawon de senaya zebatilne te chege tene mrabla chona tene te yudu ge thinking to mansam pa da bo yungi warela te ta bo main pa ta kuntin rimzang ge on de sena kuntin kashi ge zebaton tene mandawa te yenda ge ya te mandawa tende nang go pa tende jong yo warela tene te cherna tene jang ka ma pa kuntin kashi pe ko si rimbo le yu pa ta Yamukama Bakashi couldn't Kashi Kusi Tuntun, like you group. That Juchin Yapala sopa, that in the Mandawa, number not sopa. The Nitinea Kashi Jachimbo Yapata. Kashi stop Devo Yapanda, that in Degala. Tene, Susu, Gatumo Maimbe, Cheshula, Tene, that Sanji Tempate, Pelawata, Manyam Parchong, Cheshu Tomo Maimba, that in the Yore.
So the teachings have remained without disappearing, and they've remained not only partially but completely. And so for the teachings to remain without disappearing, and for them to remain not only partially but completely, when this happens, people change the generations change from time to time. And so sometimes in one generation, in one place, there will be all the facilities that you need to spread the Dharma. And yet in another place, there may not be all of the conditions and facilities you need to spread the Dharma. This is just the nature of how it is. The world is impermanent. It's always changing. And so because of that, the activity of the lamas changes from generation to generation. They often have to move from one place to another. And so you'll see that one incarnation of the Karmapa will perform the activity in one location. Another incarnation performs his activity in another location. And this is just because of the nature of the activity. If you were to try to perform a single activity in a single location and continue it from generation to generation, because of the change in time and place, then you wouldn't be able to perform vast activity. And so that is not how the Karmapa has done. He's had different types of activity in different locations. All of the different incarnations of the Karmapa have different types of activity. Some have lived very long lives. Some have, because of the conditions of their time, lived very short lives. And so they've lived in different ways and had different types of activity. Some have had very vast and huge types of activity. Some have had very easy, taken a very simple type of activity. So each of the Karmapas has their own particular features, and this is in order to spread the Dharma without it disappearing and maintain it. They take these different types of activity.
Tene tatela tat Karmapa kuting represente tombo ngo zombe ke kapsula Karmapa kuting tambote tusam chembarela. Tene tusam chembate dongo te kani sembare sena. Tene je gombo pa ne sembare. Niji gombo pala dongo che parachin kandi che yo re sena ka cha chu jing ri se tene jo je pa de at kha ne je ka dom pe mengo ta tene te jendo tanda jetun mala re pa je marba lo ta tam jetun mala re pa ne je cha je chen po ta salon naro chu tu mengo ten so yo re la tene te ta je gombo pala chu jing ri su chu ne kang ga nyom do de 냠도 냠슬렘베게 탑 다치카히 다나 까dompe mengo tenzo hendu ki chorta teni chaja chemboto naru chudu de ngui ki chorto 냠슬렘ber chepege tab tek dunderne nyamni nange yorala te tabu ki nyamni nawa te ta tanda jayo ombo parkama pa kutin tambo tusam chembege teni dongwa tenzo chasang hyu dongwa tenzo chasang 냠슬랑 na 냠슬랑 ne teni te temba pel wa te ya tanda je gombo pege lungten na kapsala poche drupa komje kombo kongrar ji doden uzong khangsong den jong jor sungare te sungwa nanging teni tangbo kombo kongje rawa tate kusung tu ne som ye benane kwe ne kombo kongje rawa la pe ne teni te densa tangbo te kombo kongra teni densa nipa te karma rilin densa sumba te tukji ne omen surbo te densa som cha tab ne tangbor ta duji kama kam song sengking ote tangbo tsupare te tsuk ne ta tangbo chu tar ta te ke nyamlin tenzo nangking ke loma ke tsuk tendu loma tenzo ke tembaram ji pel ta tende chungare la teni kongke shinji lapa te densa kong parsam se te tabo silap na densa kong parsam la teni loma ke chusu tenzo zamne te namji teni kashi ke shaja chimpi menga nyamlina kashi ke samanaro chudu ke menga nyamlina kashi ke teni kunzo songchu ke semperwe ke chirto teni kadompe menga tenzo nyamlina ne teni sanji ke tempa tangpo ngo tsupa duji kama kansong ke tempa o tsupa tabo chungare.
And so in this way, the Karmapa has come in many different ways and times. And the first Karmapa was Dusum Khenpa. And so where did Dusum Khenpa receive his instructions from? Well, he received them from Gampopa. And so Gampopa, where did he receive his instructions from? Well, he received the Kadampa and the Mahamudra instructions and combined them into what we call the river of the union of Mahamudra and Kadampa. He received the Kadampa instructions from Atisha, and he received the Mahamudra and the instructions on Mahamudra and the profound path of the 6 yogas of Naropa that were passed down from Marpa. He received these instructions from Milarepa. And so in this way, Gampopa taught this union of the instructions of Mahamudra and the Kadampa. And he taught this as a way to practice. And so in this way, for some people, he taught them to practice the Kadampa instructions as the preliminary practice. And then he would teach others to practice the Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa as the actual practice. In this way, he combined these two into a single method for practice. And so this practice, first Gampopa gave, Dusum Khenpa received the instructions on this practice first from Gampopa. And then he practiced them, and then he spread the teachings. And when he did this, then Gampopa said to him one day, he said, son, first go to Kham and to Kampo Gangra and Kham and do your practice. And then go perform the benefit of beings in central Tibet. And so in this way, Dusum Khenpa followed these instructions and founded the 3 sites of the body, speech, and mind. First, he went to eastern Tibet in Kham, and he went to the location of Kampo Gangra, and he founded the seat of the body. Then he went to Kamarilen and founded the 2nd seat. Then he went to the seat of the mind in Tsurpu, and he founded the seat of the mind, the Akanishta monastery of Tsurpu. And in this way, he founded these 3 seats, and he also ended up founding the practice lineage of the Karma Kagyu lineage. Through founding this Karma Kagyu lineage, the Dharma has spread, and he gathered many different students. And so in gathering these different students, he first founded these 3 seats, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd seats, and gathered these students. Some of them practiced the instructions on Mahamudra. Some practiced the instructions on the 6 yogas. And some practiced the instructions on increasing the relative bodhicitta through the instructions on mind training. And so through this, he was able to initiate the practice lineage of the Karma Kagyu.
Samote, Tanghundro Tungu, Nyamsalembe Kokap Naransu Togi Orella. Te Topatik, thinking Tambo de Kanichon, Nakamapa, to some Chempe, to Jeton Chinlata, Tene, Nubalatene, Chuachi Vela, Teacher Na, Tate, to Jeton Silangaranso, Jupu Kokap Davuor. Tate, Jesu continue Pate, Tandakama Paki Chambarella. Karma Pakhete, to some Chambata, Trinnig number Tate Bar. Trinnig number Tate Bate, Tadurza Susu, Kalbata, Chambala, the Netilne Tate by in detail. Trinne Tate Bakari Nawaresena, Tene Tati Kasala, Zurul Mandawa, Nenki Mandawa, Tatindela Tene, Tene, Taloma Kashi, Zuntul Chigoni, Tepato, Mugi Topata. Tene Loma Kashi, Zuntul Latin, Jigraji, Tombi Chugola, Hutopata, Tinde, Junarella, Tene, Tati Capso, Taperna, Tanda Kong, Zuntul Tempate, Ta Ticapsola, Zurbu, Latin, Tembasanji jumped into Chukochimbo, Losu Lupa, Tatinde, no rela, Losu Lupa, te, non capso. Tene Tati Kapsala, Leka Chinkitinsola, Hachang, Tap, Cheparchi Mebala Tene, Cote, you under what you want. Nico, you under what you do, Tenite, Kul, Tanda Pen, Trapo, Tupo, Tene, Tate, Zoyapache, Yimbicherna, Tati Zojutanguna, Pecalcapo, Tene Jankamabaga, Conga, Junturtene, Tati, Mayoa, Narang Sangi, Sound. tene lashin kan tain la kon long song ne yo tombo kulu ti cho cho da wo che sin yo rimbe song ne ya sang du tel tene lashin te ya tene cha da cha de rimbe ya sang ne tene la song ki ti ge o tan de song shu bu ta ten de ge zun chu ten na wa re.
And so these are the instructions of the union of the Kadampa, of the rivers of the Kadampa and the Mahamudra. These instructions have come down to us, and we have now received the opportunity to be able to practice them. And this is because of the compassion and the blessings and the power of the first Karmapa Dusam Khenpa. So we have this opportunity to receive the compassion and blessings of Dusam Khenpa. Following Dusam Khenpa came the second Karmapa, Karma Pakchi. Now, Karma Pakchi had a different way of showing his activity than the first Karmapa Dusam Khenpa, because his students and their needs and their abilities were different. He showed his activity in a different way as well. He was known for showing his activity through his miracles and clairvoyance. And so when he would display some sort of a miracle, there were some students who'd see the miracle and immediately feel a lot of faith. Then there would be some students who would see the miracle and they'd be so scared that they'd have to enter the gate of the Dharma. And so in this way, he showed many different miracles. One of these was when they were building the main statue in the main shrine room at Serpu Monastery, the great Buddha at the main Buddha statue at Serpu Monastery. And at the time that they were doing this, they didn't have great technology. Because they didn't have great technology, when they cast the statue, it came out just a little bit crooked. And so when the statue was a little bit crooked, there wasn't a whole lot they could do because it was big, thick, and heavy, and it's hard, and there was nothing they could do to fix it. So it was really hard to fix. And so then the Gyalwang Karmapa said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I can fix this statue." And so then he sat down in front of this main statue, and he sat there and he held his breath. And he sat kind of crooked, just like the statue. And then he straightened himself up a little bit. The statue straightened itself up a little bit. He straightened himself up a little bit more, and the statue straightened itself a little bit more until it was almost completely straight. And then the maker said, "Oh, okay, that's great. Now that's fine right now." And then he stopped. And so that is one of his activities, one of his miracles.
Tene tati tene te samji ma chapa chung rela. Samji ma chapa chung ke sulte ya ta tanda chiso tene peto temba nyangcho ro kapla tene ta pechela tombi chu te la nyangcho chung rela. Te yendo densa la nyangcho chung. Tene survi la te la rinisa ji chimpu ka som bom jam ne toro re. Tordu te la ta ngaran so thamal pa ke som lo ta na ta ko ti torso ta me so yar so ta samba tende re te yina yo ngune tambe chu go on de se na tene ko che gen ro ran som mai pa te ko chalbo te zombe leng sa ne mambola pene sina te ramba yin de sa ne ka sa kala pepne ta ti ne pa ta sina ta tu je te pel na wa ge Devon of Chongyo Arella, Nitea, Tatanda, Jankamapa, Kuntinipa, Karma Pakhe, Kunyang in Linde, Lodon Mambo, Chumarete, Yenaya, Tati Konga, Koi, Trinity, Tomboku, Yupukapsala, Trinidachimbo Nawacheta. The Kotor Kapsala, Trinity, Trasi, Yalson and about the last one of Maimpa. Tiniti zombie lento tempa perne zombie leng sane mombola koi salvote pepne ti sina sarju yepa tela tene ta dorja loma tenzo la sina thomju yepa ta ti de chumare sabato yore.
So this activity of the Karmapa is really completely inconceivable. And the way it's inconceivable is, if you think about it, in recent time there was the weakening of the teachings and the attempt to extirpate the teachings from Tibet. And so the teachings were weakened. There was a lot of destruction in Tibet. And if you think about it, like for example, with the main Buddha statue at Tsurpo, if you think about it, they put a bomb in it under the Cultural Revolution. They put a bomb under the statue and blew it up. So the ordinary way you think about it is that they destroyed the statue. But actually, in terms of the Dharma, that is not what happened. Because before you had a single statue that was performing its activity. But after it was blown into bits, there are all these fragments, and they took all these fragments to all over the world. And because all these fragments were brought all over the entire world, the blessings of that statue have really filled the entire world. And so this is the result of the statue being blown up. And so now it's been many, many years after the activity, after the second Karmapa was passed into nirvana. And so, but the activity of the statue continues. Even after it was born, it's not after it was blown up, it's not like the statue's activity was destroyed or lost. It's in fact, actually, it has really increased, and it has been brought all over the earth. There have been all over the world. Many fragments of the statue have been brought everywhere to the world. They've brought their blessings to many places in the world, and many students have been able to receive the blessings of the statue because of this.
Tene ta te jeso kuntin sumba te ta kama pa sumba rangjung doji re la. Tene ta te sumba rangjung doji te ta kedu ni ding namba la tena. Tene ke zo te kari na wa se na tene tenju sarva tsam na tenju nimba tenzo drup na tene ta te non ta je som sinking ke temba te pel. Samunanga ta tanda nanga zalung tili tinzo chetawa yinto hipi chertula samunanga ta tene te yinto jipa doji ge takpa nipa tene te yinto senjin tangji ji senji ji la rikang dewar hipi nimbo yubi ge senyi tenpa tenju chimbo ji lama tene te yenlo ndabo la konga tene nam hi hinje pato nimbo tenpa se nam hi hinje pa se na ta chetang ma da pa ka so la sen number ki pa chu ji ya pa ta de ta pa ka so la yi hi ngai rang yin dun jur gi ya pa te kan di sin jur gi ya pa te kan di sin ngaran so jur gu gi ya pa tombo ngaran so sen nam hi ka so la tru bi no kan di ya pa ta te yang ta pa la jur ka so la ta pa yi hi che yi hi ngai rang yin kan di sin ro gi ya pa 다 대답을 답아 이hin가이 랑긴 대야 사실 연도제네 촐네 사르도 터바마인바 대인히 빈힘보 템바세 센진 통지지 질라예 베게 촐다 된데 땡주 첨보 나다보 짤도 땡나와레라 되니 다 짤도 땡네 콩게송 되니 데라 되네 머랍맘보 로기요레라 되니 머랍맘보 로기요레데 이나야 디당와 데 마냥바네 Dhamma te manyampa nepa tsantaya mazi kashi ki tusan la tene sinla topa ta kashi ki gombe nyansu lomba la tene tene sinla topne tardu kun depa topa samji machapa mambo chunga re la tene chisu yon perna ta ngaran rabu je yena ya kapka la tanda no hi hinje pa ton himbo tempa tene chadrong mambo loma chola hi ju kokap kalwa sambo rabu mambo chunga re la tene tenzo hi ne tene loma tenzo ge nam hi ngo kandri imba yi hi ngo kandri sinjur ge ya pa te ti himbo te hi bi himbo senjin tangji ji senji je la kandri ya pa te la tene soja chimpi tingen sen gom na drebu kandri ji thogi ya pa tenzo tangbo tu song ko kwa ni pa tene te gombe nyam so lembe ge pento chimbo jong yo re samba re te ta te ngarang he pa chom ma imba tangbo ti sinla ge jeng de kani jong re se na tene jang ka ma pa kuntrin samba rang jung do ji ni jong je re.
The third Karmapa was Rangju and Dorje. And so the third Karmapa, Rangju and Dorje, had a very different way. He was a great scholar and practitioner, and his main activity was to write treatises. So he wrote many treatises, he completed some old treatises, and his main treatises were what we call the Profound Inner Meaning, the Hevajra Tantra in 2 parts, in 2 books, and the commentary on the Supreme Continuum. So the first of these is the commentary on the Profound Inner Meaning, which explains how the channels, winds, and drops within our bodies move. The second is the commentary on the Hevajra Tantra in 2 books. And then the third is the Supreme Continuum, an explanation of how it is that all sentient beings have Buddha nature and the characteristics of that Buddha nature that all sentient beings have. And then as sort of branches or subsidiary treatises, he also wrote 2 other treatises, the Differentiating Consciousness from Wisdom and the Teachings on Buddha Nature. And so in Differentiating Consciousness from Wisdom, he teaches how there, in the impure phase, there are the 8 consciousnesses. How in the pure phase there are the 5 wisdoms. How it is that the one transforms into the other. How we need to transform in them. He teaches in this how it is that at first in the impure phase we have the confused appearances and how we can purify those appearances, and when they do, how their nature becomes the 5 different wisdoms. And so he also teaches in this how that nature of the 5 different wisdoms is not something that we need to look for from someplace else. It is the Buddha nature that all sentient beings have present within themselves. And so in this way he wrote 5 great treatises. And these treatises have been present, have been extant for many different generations. But even though they've been present for it's been many different generations since they've been around, their blessings have not weakened at all. And so many people have listened to and contemplated them and received their blessings in this way. Others have practiced them through meditation, received their blessings, and been able to achieve results through them. Over many years, I've had many opportunities to teach the 2 treatises, Differentiating Consciousness from Wisdom and the Treatise on Buddha Teacher, many times. And when I've taught these to my students, I feel like they have been able to come to understand through them what is the essence of consciousness? What is the essence of wisdom? How is it that Buddha nature is present within all beings? And how is it that we can practice Mahamudra? And so first they first they contemplate and listen, and then they can meditate upon it and develop an experience of this. And this isn't just something that comes from my explanations. There is a continuum of the blessings that comes all the way down from the 3rd Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje.
Tene ta te jeso kundrin jiba te rolbu doji re la. Tene rolbu doji te tanda jitang ta shindu zunba. Tene te nane tene konga loma tenzo la. Tene shadang chang tenzo zawani longje mshoba. Ta tende ke tsulshim number taba. Tende chung ke loju yeba jaitang. Tene ta te chitang ke kuntrin nipa karma pakhi tang, sumba rangjung doji tang, yiba rolba doji ke kapla, tene jana tang, ta pe la chitang ke sopu ke ongjirwa re la. Tene tika su la sopu jalbo chenpo tenzo la pe, tene tro, tene trakpo, tene tanda ina se chocho, sang chocho, tene trakpo. 다 된데 이제 수롱한다 보이. 좀 이제 수롱한다 보. 다 이제 수롱한테 힘도 또 첨보. 다 된데 중화를라. 되니 디갑슬라. 되네 단다 산니 망볼라. 이제 저지 막고봐. 되니 소프기 잡고텐서 담배 수프 잡고텐서 담배 주성. 담배 주성네 대남지. 되니 해당당 아절 타도 텐서 대지 해. 되게 생긴 대화라. 그봐. 다 된데 그 틀린 섬지면 잡아 좀 요래.
The 4th Karmapa was Rinpoche Dorje. And Rinpoche Dorje was a very strict monastic. He forbade his students from eating meat or drinking any sort of alcohol. He had very pure discipline, and so this is recorded in the histories about the fourth Karmapa Rinpoche Dorje. Now, during the time of the second Karmapa Karmapakchi, the third Karmapa Rangjung Dorje, and the fourth Karmapa Rinpoche Dorje, Tibet and India were both under the power of the Mongol emperors. And the Mongol emperors were very fierce and wrathful emperors. They were very strict emperors, and they would often kill people, kill or terrorize people. They were very fearsome and terrifying emperors. And also, not only were they fearsome and terrifying, they were also very powerful. And so the Yawang Karmapas, in order that people would not experience such fear, they went and they taught the Dharma to the Mongol emperors. Through teaching these emperors Dharma, they were able to tame somewhat their anger and their pride and their jealousy. And so through this, they were able to bring many beings to happiness. And so this is also some of the inconceivable activity of the Karmapas.
Tene ta te yendo jaung kama pakunti ngabate yinki barela. Tene ta te jaung kama pakunti ngabe kapla. Tene jana ke yudrete sopu onjurwa te njurne. Tene jana rang tene ta tanda main jarab ke onjur ke tukap chungala tene jaung kama pak tanda main jarbola shinap na ona tambe chu na ne tene te jitang jitin che kon sewa me pata te na ne mixal to tambe chu la sewa me pa te yendo ta ti kapsula jitang chulu la shuri chenpo yo re te yinayo shuri tsani me pa chu khanga susu ke kalba tang tamba la tarwa re te susu manyam pa chongu ke re saune labja na ta tinde na ke loju tene ta te ya ta jana japo senki te tepa che wala pe kale khabu yo re te yinaya ta che zuntu chik pa samji ma ja pa song de te la tanda jana la tanda kunting ngabati yinhi pa jana la pepe kapso tene nima ja thamba jana la yore la tene nima ja la yudite la zuntu chike pa mandawa ja thamba ne te na tene zuntu chike pa mandawa ja thamba namba nawa te la ngonsar jasa hyogi yore la ngonsar jasa te ta ti kapso la tandanga ransu na yin parjaya yo marite inaya ladin kepa tenzu ke terin zepa kare na wata ngon sarwin sema kande chungwate tene remoti tende na yapa ta tende yo rela ti yapa te la ta je namkha ninja herwata tene te yendo netin chutu ke panda bo chungwa la sopa ta tende mandawa mambo chungwa rela tene tanda ti du korang uni ta che zain don yo jo kanya me pa peka la ti yo ba te ta tandang us jarju yo re la te ta bu ge te ni zun chul ton tene la te ne tene jana ja bu chu la ke ne jana ta pe kong jin ji jong su song ji ji tem pa tarwa sang ji ji tem pa tarwa la ngal jing me pa tin ji ye pa ta tende na ne ta tong be chu de yin ren de ne tene jang ma yo re.
The fifth Karmapa was Deshin Shekpa. And so at the time of the fifth Karmapa, Deshin Shekpa, that was the time that there was the change in dynasty from the Mongol dynasty to the Ming dynasty, which was a Chinese emperor. And so the Gyalwang Karmapa was able to go to see the Ming emperor and to be able to teach him, to give him the Dharma, to give him the blessings and empowerments and so forth. And he taught him to be not to harm the world, and to, in particular, not to harm different religious traditions. This was a time when there was a great sectarian tendency, and the Gyalwang Karmapa taught the Ming emperor not to have any sectarian bias, but rather that there are many different traditions for the different capabilities and fortunes of different students, and so he advised him to be without any sectarian bias towards them. And so, actually, Chinese emperors, it is very difficult to instill faith in Chinese emperors. And so the fifth Karmapa, Deshin Shekpa, did this, instilled faith in him by showing a lot of different miracles. He went to China, and he spent 100 days in China. And during those 100 days that he spent in China, he did 100 different miraculous things. On each of the days, he did a different miraculous event. And so these are known as the 100 different wonders. And each day, now, this is a time before there were digital cameras, and so they couldn't just take snapshots of every different miraculous event. But what they did at this time is they actually drew paintings of each of the events, and there's a painting for each of the different events that were done. On some days, there would be a big rainbow in the sky. Some days, there would be the appearances of the 16 elders, of 16 arhats. So there are many different miracles that occurred during that time. And during this time, they were actually written down, or they were actually drawn as they appeared. And these weren't falsified. These are not fake drawings. These are actual drawings. And these are drawings that actually you can still go and see. And it is through all of these different miracles that the fifth Karmapa Deshin Shekpa was able to bring the Chinese emperor to the Dharma. And by bringing the Chinese emperor to the Dharma, then the Dharma was able to spread in both China and in Tibet. And there were no difficulties to the Dharma spreading. There are all of the favorable conditions that were necessary were present, so that the Dharma was then able to be present for a long time.
Tene ta teji sukuntin tupan thonga tenten jambarela thonga tenten ke kapso tene chitang khong ke thenle te tanda tene choga ngaranso doje phamu ke nyamling ke choga tene tejen to jarwa jansu nyamling ke choga tene tejen to ngombo perching ke nyamling ke choga tenzo chetawa yendola dikna tene ta devona ne tene ta ti tene te jongwa ta tene tejen tene ngombo perching ke jerem yapo salve ke chetong gombo pe no jing ke chom tenzo ngus trap tene loma chuge tene yeram ta chuchong tenzo gombe kapsala ta chitang ke kap la tene jerem la pembe ke cheto tangkati ke na tene ko de lele ndabo ji chado yo te me charo be cheto ko de dodo ndabo Kode dodo rabo che zona tene che pembo rabo do rabo che la jonro yo ta gambika sa la saltena che yongul me pa rabo ta tela kare gugere se no yongul to che pa che semching ke namba rabo tene ta tanda gugi yo la tene mbo ka tene jencha tenso ta tene trap na tene che hipa chuchong ton yidam tenso ngus Jemba Nuanda Tati, Mus, Yupuk and Nuanda, Harry Chetala, Chongat, Chogatinzo, Sarto, Diknane, Tati, Tilinda Bote, come up to Banton and the Chomare.
The sixth Karmapa was Tongwa Dunda. And his main activity was to prepare all of the ritual texts. He prepared the ritual texts for the Vajravada he practiced, the ritual text for the Jinasagara or Jalanjatso, and also the ritual text for the protector Bernak Chen. So he prepared all these texts and made it very easy for us to practice them. And so in this way, this is one way that his activity occurred. And then also, in order to make it easier for us to do the clear visualizations of the creation phase of the protector Bernak Chen, he also started the Lama dancing, the Mahakala Lama dancing. The reason he did this is that sometimes when students begin to meditate upon the creation phase practice, in order to be able to picture what the deity looks like, we'll draw a tanka. But when you draw a tanka, it's flat. And so in order that you don't visualize the deity as being flat, then you make a sculpture. But when you have a sculpture, then, it's this thing, and it doesn't move. And that's not very helpful, when you're meditating. And so what do you need to do when you're meditating? Well, you actually need to be able to see the deity as like a living, breathing, moving, sentient being. And so in order that beings would be able to see this, he had them put on masks and wear costumes, and he taught them how to do the dance and the Mahakala Lama dancing. And when you do this Mahakala Lama dancing, then you get the feeling that the wisdom deities are actually present, that the Yidam deity has actually come and that they're actually present. And so this is why we do the Lama dancing. And this particular form of activity began with the 6th Karmapa, Tongwa Dindan.
Tene ta te jiso kuntin tamba chura janso peparela. Tene chura janso te ta chitanga temba pelwi ke chepto sanni che lama yuba. Tene karma garchinsi. Tene sanni mambo la pepne tene densa mambo pel. Ta tene nawa che ta tene te yendo tenchu chenpo tenso la tu som nawa ko kap ndabo pel ne tene tanda jitang tingsang kapsala yu yore sema ri yung janso se ta jagar ke lodan chempo tenju ke chom ya pe ke tenju ni te ya che tang aran so hindu kal chewa kari yore se na tini sanji chom din de te yapore se laba to mai pa sanji chom din de yapo yim bi junsen kan de yim ba te tini chewa nga si yore se na laba to mai pa chewa nga si ye bi junsen kan de yim ba tenzo pe salpo tini te ya chitang tsawa tseme tsawa ke nong de ya salpo yore la te mai pa tini tanda chura janso rang ke tsal to ten de tini ta te ya kongri ta ta si jang ne tini hipa tsam mai par tini kong ku jewa ngama la tini par chu chu to ku jewa hipa ne ji ring go ne song kya pa tini ke tenchu tini maung pa la ta tenzo tenchu tenra wa che ngaran so inji ta jai ke tento jor thup na pe ta tanda tingsang tsenri ke temba pherwe ke kapso pe jewa ngasi yemi legendary yemi tini temba sangji chomdin de yong ta pe jebu yemi tenzo yung tapa ripi goni hiya te kal chewa rela te yung tapa ripa te kani ten yo are se na sema ri yung jansu no ten yo are teni te tabu song ne pe tene pel na yo are.
The 7th Karmapa was Chudajatso. And the way that he spread his activity was by not staying in a single place. Instead, he stayed in the great encampment, which moved from place to place. And in this way, he brought the teachings to many different locations in Tibet. And so, in this way, brought the opportunity to study to many different people. He also gave the opportunity to study a great treatises, and we still have that opportunity. In particular, he composed a great treatise called The Ocean of Literature, of Logical Literature, on the texts on validity. And this is a treatise that we still have and that we still study. And the reason that this text is so important is because sometimes, we might just say, oh, the Buddha's great. But what's the reason? We need to know the reason why the Buddha is great. Or we might say, there are past and future lives. Well, what is the reason why there are past? And it's not okay just to say that there are past and future lives. We also need to be able to see the reasons. And so the reasons are clearly taught Of course, they're clearly taught in the root texts on validity, the texts on pramana. But Chodak Gyatso taught these especially clearly, and he emphasized these in this. And so this is something that when he taught it, it's not just something that he taught from his own studies. Rather, he taught it from remembering his own previous life when he had been born as Dharmakirti and first taught these teachings. And so, in the future, if these treatises can be translated into English and Chinese, it will be very important. Especially now in this time when we have a lot of influence from science. We need to be able to say, well, what are the reasons? What are the true reasons why there are past and future lives? What are the reasons why there is karma, cause, and effect? What are the reasons why the Buddha is a genuine and authentic great being? So these are things that we need to know, that we need to understand. And so this is the activity that comes from this treatise, The Ocean of Logical Literature.
Tene ta teji sula ta tanda chitang tanda jang kama pa kunrin jepa biche doji tang gulo onchu doji ni peparela ta tige temba peru ki tsulte ta tanda zo tanda hepa ki temba 다 대주 침보 된조 제당가 히라지 바로도 좀 받아 산지 좀 된데 주동지 동니 받이 히라지 바로도 좀 받은 도그노도 송데 히라지 바로도 좀 된도 이탄데 리피 잘도 된데 니히 야포 제위게 제달라 되네 오면 대주 침보 된조 숑아렐라 대다 오면 대주다 되네 다 대견도 풍부가 소바다 되네 덴바이라 소바다 되네 레전드리 코르라 소바텐조 살vor 템바테 엠베데네렐라다 텐조 되네 까마파 미제도지게 데르바 제바 다 리파침보 템데바 나오나 넘치단데 데르바 제바 고바 온주도지게 갑슬라 되네 데좀 죽메니베 리파 멤버 텐조라 두베 소지 되네 투섬시베게 탑 텐조 나네 템바페 나와레
Then there was the eighth Karmapa Mikyo Dorje and the ninth Karmapa Wangchuk Dorje. And the manner in which they spread the teachings was by primarily spreading the teachings of scripture and explanation. They wrote commentaries on the great treatises. They wrote commentaries on the treatises of Prajnaparamita, which teach in the sutras of Prajnaparamita, it teaches that all phenomena are emptiness. And so in order to emphasize and to clarify this meaning, they wrote the great treatises on the middle way. And they also taught treatises on the Abhidharma, which teaches about what are the five aggregates, what are the four noble truths, and so forth. And so the eighth Karmapa Mikyo Dorje wrote these treatises, and very detailed treatises with very detailed and extensive logic. And then the ninth Karmapa Wangchuk Dorje took these treatises, and in order to make them easier for beginners to enter and easier for people who are not so intelligent to understand them, he condensed them. And so in this way, they performed their activity of spreading the teachings.
Tene ta teji sokama pakunti juwa chuin doji peparela tene konga tumo ma imbe tene tene je rumo ta tene ko losu lupa la sopa ta te tumo ma imba tene rumo tumo ma imba te tanda pinsang ya yong su tropa kam gadi sengi je chungarela tene kam gadi sengi te zalto tenang kinte kama pa juba chuin doji ge zalto tenang re la tene teya tanda rumo te chitanga rumo kepa imbala tene kapkala zuntrulga namba ke ta ti rumo te tananga yorela tene kon tanda tene tanda pe lochuru no changchuru lochuru tene jang sinking lumbala pepe kasala tene kon ke rumo tinarela tene jang jalbu ke rumo je tishu sikhudu tene kon ke thole yenda na rumo de hira tejuma jumare ta sani rumo de jalbu la purgure se sun kapsala tene kon ke sentenzo chasa tsurdu tene kanga tene tor tene ngol tor yo tene ko mandawa tene ko pe yapo tende chong yo la tene tangka ta zunru ke pe ke yen nang ga panda bo ta tene kahi risal ko ne yen ga panda bo tene ko lo su lu pa mandawa tende la tene ta che karma gadri se tamo ma impe chechu tong tempa tene te che taga se rimu ge jotsal tam ma impa tene ta che yiram jalai cheram gam gu na tene hla te yiram jalai ko gam gu pa che ta yiram jalai ko gam na tene che thapcha da bo jobo da bo che gam na tene te yapo yung yo ma re la tene te ma pe te rimo thangkha yapo je gu pa yin pe cher na tene tanda rimu ge nam pa ta ko lo su lu pa la su pa ta tene ke pa sam che ma cha pa na re.
The 10th Karmapa, Chögyam Dorje, his particular form of activity was art. He drew made a lot of paintings and drawings. He sculpted a lot of statues. And his particular way of drawing and painting, from out of that there developed the karma gadri, the karma encampment or karma gadri style. And so the founder, the person who started this style, was the 10th Karmapa, Chögyam Dorje. So he was a very skilled artist, and sometimes he drew in the ordinary fashion, but sometimes he also drew in a miraculous way. For example, there was one time that he was in the land of Zhang, which is in the south of Tibet. And when he was there, then the king of Zhang asked him to paint a painting. And so the Karmapa agreed that he was going to do the painting. But while he was there, he had a lot of other work that he was doing, and didn't have much time to work on the painting. Then it came to be the day before he had to give the painting to the king. So he took all his paints, he mixed them up, and then he threw them at the canvas. And when he threw them at the canvas, they landed and they made a beautiful drawing of the deity. And so it's a really, wonderful, amazing way of drawing. And so in this way, he painted many paintings, some normal way, some in the miraculous way. He also made many sculptures and founded the Karma Gadri style of art. And when he's founding this and doing this art, it's not just a question of making art, of drawing paintings and making sculptures. Because when we do the creation phase practices of visualizing the deity, we need to visualize the deity. And when you visualize the deity, if you sort of visualize a sort of crooked, second-rate sort of deity, then your meditation isn't going to be all that good. And so you need to have a good tanka. You need to have a good painting of the deity. And so the 10th Karmapa Chögyam Dorje drew these paintings. He made many sculptures. And in this way, he really had all this inconceivable activity.
Tene ta te jeso kuntin chuchi ba ihi doje ta chuni ba songju doje namba ni chitang kan se patane samji ma cha ba chungwa rete yina ya zo ta che horlo ma tenzo mata pa je la che ke che to kusi tung tung namba nda bo chin ten re la ta te ke lo ma tenzo la tomo ma imbe mata pen to hi je la che tene te la tene tambe chu la kol tende nawarela ta teji su kuntin chosompa dundul doji chembarela dundul doji te tanda kuntin yenda tat zepatan tene jachewa maimpa chitang ke sadal tumi ke nampanta boche na ne ta te tomo maimben zepa imbe cherna sadal tumi ke nampanta boche na ne teni kaukala himela chute teni kaukala chiula chute 다 텐데 제베 로주 남터나 요레라 테니 힘이라 추데니 힘이 생긴을 내밤에지 반다고 테니 힘에도 저기니 냠도 로도 바로 텐데 신압나 다 텐데 나네 테니 다티 사달 주미 선바상부도 덴베게 담비추게 신압다고 다 텐데 나네 제바탄 트니 나와래
The 11th Karmapa and the Karmapa Yeshe Dorje and the 12th Karmapa Chanchu Dorje, of course, had many inconceivable types of activity, but the primary activity that they showed their students was having a short life. By having a short lifetime, they instilled the understanding of impermanence in their students. And so by instilling this conception of impermanence in their students, they were able to perform their activity. The 13th Karmapa Doodle Dorje had a very different way of performing activity than the other Karmapas. His way of performing activity was to be free of action and very simple in what he did. This is the particular feature of his activity. So from time to time, he would teach the Dharma to cats and to birds. In fact, it even tells about this in his life story. It tells about how he would teach cats the Dharma, and then the cats would not harm any other sentient beings, and the cats would spend time among the mice. And so these are sort of the blessings that he gave, and this is his activity of lacking any action, and this activity of having a kind art, and his way of bringing about the blessings of the Dharma.
Tene ta tejendu Karmapa Kundri Jujipa Tinchu Toji. Rela Tinchu Doji ke kapso yang tanda Chusompa Dundu Doji kapso Tumi Nawate. Tene yang Tuji ke onda se ne ta garchin ke tsichu chemota tene sadin por dunchi chemota tenzo ta Tuji ke tene druba tenzo nang ne tempa pel ta teji so kuntin chonga pa khacha doji chemparela tene khacha doji te tanda chetang tanda kanyi songdun jupa ta te kapsala tanda jongan lodun thai ke rinchin tenze chemo dai rinchin tenze chemo te tene pelve ke chetala part kenze ne ta chetang tene termata wang tenzo pe chiso tene je onda sinlap ge je cheju nyen kayo are te yena ya tenzo chu che to du ne tene rin tenzo chim ge on korna tene te wang par cher ge on ji ma chi pa to long par cher ge lung ji ma chi pa ta tene ge tene ja chembo na ware.
The 14th Karmapa was Tekchot Dorje. And so in his time, he, rather than having the very simple and inactive activities such as the 13th Karmapa, he began doing very complicated and very elaborate activities. He reinstituted the 10th day feast of the Great Encampment. He instituted many other rituals and so forth. And so by doing very elaborate rituals and so forth, he was able to again spread the teachings. The next Karmapa, the 15th Karmapa, Kachap Dorje, practiced the union of the Kagyu and the Nyingma teachings. Now, at that time, the Jamgon Kongtrul Lodrutaya had compiled the treasury of the precious Dharma, and in order to spread this, he had it engraved, or he had it published, and. So with all of the Dharma, there's the danger that all of the transmissions and all of the empowerments of these would be lost. And so in order that the blessings, the transmissions, and the empowerments not be lost, he had it printed, and he also began giving the empowerments of these. And so in this way, through giving the empowerments and the transmissions of the treasury of precious Dharma, he was able to make sure that most of the empowerments of the Dharma and most of the transmissions of the Dharma would be continued and would be not lost. And in this way, he performed his vast activity.
Tene ta te ji su kun tin chu du pa tanda rongjung ripe do ji chen ba la tene rongjung ripe do ji te chitang ta je ba tan tene som ji ma cha ba chen be no ne tanda ta de shu nda wo ji shu shu na chitang ta sin la che bar ji to ba te chitang tene ka ma ba chu du ba ripe do ji te chiu le thu ni bo yo 지우라 토니보에 베준신테 드니 지우라 진랍나 드니 지우라 추스테 진랍나니 드니 진랍나 따템바 드니 추템베 따템바 드니 정요라라 드니 땡아랑 그 무스요 잘뇽라 지우디 희위값을라 드니 지당 그 지우시나 코로나 힘 드니 해대 그래라 드니 단다 정감만 바게 찰라예베 신나나가 바게 지우된조 코라 짝짝나나 딘데 야투투시니 그런 검자 네 희와 망본장용 딘데 지탄그 온드세는 지탄그 춘춘지 레데 이나야 딘데 지소구나 베 깔레카보 딘데 신라 제버진지라 딘데 용기요와 마도 딘데 신 딘데 지우 투동 요 생기데 베 메시반다보 딘데 용기요와라 데이터보 나와 데이터 Tini ngarang tsukun chin batardo, ta tanda jang kama ba, ta yi hiba yendo, jang kama ba kunti nipa tang, sumba tang, hiba ge, tini sopo tang, jano ge yodo tempa perwa. Tini te yendo ngabe ge, jano ge yodo tempa perwa. Tini te yendo chuba ge, jang ge yodo tempa perwa. Tini tanda trupa tang, dumba tang, jeba tenzu ge, pe kongchin ki jongso, tempa la ta ter na, ta kahi la te si jen yeba tenzu, jen sal, tini hepcha na, nyam songa tenzu ya pel, tini naware la, tini jang kama pa kuntrin chudu pe kapsa la ngaran tsung chin patardo, tini ta te dambi chu te sani mangbo la, pel gu pe ge, ta chachin rabo te, chong, te tuji tang sena te chongwa re la te nane mixal to teni tanda ngaranzo America lumba la tambi chupero ge teni gonda go te sena ne tanda tang ngaranzo ngarang ge tanda chuhi be kalba sang bo chung ge ne keti ge zula kong yen dansa tap teni tanda chen namba ya chu nyam se lemba ta chu nyembe ge kokap ndabo top ge ne chepar tom papa singi lap ta tinde nawa re la te ta bu ge ne te la ta ngaran so chu hem ge he ju ge kokap jong te kalba sang bu te ta chu nyem ge nyen ju ge kokap jong te kalba sang bu te ta de jen du chu nyam lin nang king ge tini chu nyam lin nang ju ge kokap jong te san ni hen da to mandra wa ta kong re tu ji tong pen lo ja jin bu nawa re la te me pe me si be kalba sang bu jong la kalba sang bu yin ba he ni tini gawa to tro ji gu ba ta te ba to mu ji gu ba ji re.
Then there was the 16th Karmapa, Rangjung Rikpe Dorje. And of course, he had many different types of activities, but to sort of give a really easy example of his activity, of his great blessings, the 16th Karmapa, Rangjung Rikpe Dorje, really loved birds. And because he loved birds, he would teach them Dharma, he would give them the blessings, and through teaching them and giving them the blessings, many were be able to show the signs of receiving the blessings, the signs of having been taught the Dharma. I saw this myself. That when a bird would die, when one of his birds would die, of course, when a normal bird dies, the bird falls down and it dies. But when there was a bird who had been blessed by the 16th Karmapa Rangjung Rikpe Dorje, when it would come to the time of death, it would sit there. It would sit like this, and sitting like this, and then it would die, and it would sit in meditation after it died. And I saw this myself many times, and so if you think about it, in one way, you say, oh, this is kind of a small thing, but if you had to make something like that yourself, it'd be really difficult to make it. You can't just do that. Blessings don't come like that. And so this is really a sign of the, real compassion and the power and the blessings of the 16th Karmapa. So we can see, when we look at the lives of all the Karmapas, the second, third, and fourth Karmapas had a lot of activity with the Mongolians. The fifth Karmapa with the Chinese. The 10th Karmapa with the king of Zhang. The 6th and 7th and 8th Karmapas spent their time spreading the teachings in Tibet. When they saw faults, they did their best to eliminate those faults and to bring in greater detail. they did their best to revive things that had weakened. And so this has all happened because of their compassion and their blessings. And in particular, with the 16th Karmapa, as you all know, he appeared in a time when the Dharma was forced to spread to many different lands in the world. And so there was the condition to spread the Dharma. And because of his compassion and resolve and his blessings, he opened the door for the Dharma to spread in America. And so this has given us all the opportunity to come here. It gives me the opportunity to come here and teach you the Dharma. It gives you the opportunity to come here and listen to the Dharma. And so this is the great blessing, the wonderful blessings of the Karmapa. Through his blessings, this seat here was founded. And through this seat being founded, I have this opportunity to come here and teach you the Dharma. Many teachers have the opportunity to come and teach the Dharma. Those who want to listen to the Dharma can have the opportunity to come and listen to the Dharma. Those who want to practice the Dharma have the opportunity to come and practice meditation. And so these are the particular blessings that make this place unlike any other place. This comes out of the compassion and the blessings of the 16th Karmapa. And so it is important to know this, to understand this. And when we know and understand it, it's important to rejoice in it. And then through rejoicing in it, we need to have great faith and devotion in this.
Tene ta tejendu kutring judunpa ujintilne dojirela. Tene ta te ya chitangan zepatene samji majaba yoredi. Tina ne mixalto tawandamba chepartum papa tabute ta kajimano lekju nang rela kajimano lekju nang ne tatanda kajimano te choga sarto date na teni te sanje ji sum ndodong tambata teni kedup chimbo tong ji tong tenju tong tamba choga tong tambata teni nang ne teni ta te ngaran choge zombu leng mate leonde teni nyomdo melam te dan to pata melam ko tanda ten su hi to ba perna ta pepa ina peigi teninde tene peigi tenda te hi jame ina jaigi teninde jagari ina jagari teninde tene urusu ina urusu teninde tene tejendo spanish ina spanish teninde ne te kani demba zamaimpa te tenda yang chatapa chatawa yendo journey ten hi yendo solwan de chopa melam de chopa ta tende nane tene ngaran zombe leng makanga lenje tunzam ne tene tanda solwata muji tene te sane te zam ta tombo cherto jagardoji de tambang barzo po sonji pe ne melam te na re te tige zombe leng la yons chatni sane mambola ta melam nang kimba data mus jalwe kapsala tene zepatan tene samji majaba tuji tong melam samji majaba imba te dangaran sunga samten jali kimba tende rela tene te neka ka on te se na kamatiriya na la chijur na hyabji cha tuji na melam ja pa imbe cherna ta tanda kamatiriya na la cherna be nyamle na ge kwakap thopala tene cherto kamapa kunti chudu yonsu do ke sena thoji ye ba cheta te nani misal to kunti chudu ba kama parangjung ripe doji ta chudun ba ojin trinle doji ni ke sena chepar chin thoju kwakap sang bo ta demba imbe cherna pe mesibe kalpha sang bo chung re la tini maung pa la ya tini yang ni yang to pe te la yang ni yang to chu sin yang ni yang to chambi chu nyong so len na na pe yabo yung re se ati kulmanda bo hyoge yan la tini tring te cham hyoge sani dojin chung to mendra ba te hyoge.
And there's the 17th Karmapa, Urgyen Trinle Dorje. He has many different types of deeds and activities, but the deed of his that is able to instill the most faith and sincerity is the Kagyu Lineage. And so he has reformed the Kagyu Minlam. He prepared a new ritual for the Kagyu Minlam. And this ritual, or this text for the Kagyu Minlam, it fits with the sutras that taught by the Buddha. It fits with all the treatises and the written by all the great masters and scholars. And this is something that everyone all over the entire world can recite together. Everyone can recite it and understand it. If you are Tibetan, you can recite it in Tibetan and understand the meaning. If you are Chinese, you can recite it in Chinese and understand the meaning. If you are Indian, you can recite it in Hindi. If you are Russian, you can recite it in Russian. If you are Spanish, you can recite it in Spanish. And it's not just a question of reciting it with your mouth. It has been translated, the meaning has been translated just as it should be. And so as you recite it, you can also make the prayers, you can make the supplications and the aspirations. And so people from all over the world gather to make these prayers, to feel the devotion. And this isn't something that just happens in a single location. Of course, it first started in Bodh Gaya, but now it is spread all over the whole world, and there are Kagyu Minlams that are being held in many different locations. And so this is a form of the activity of the Karmapa that we can actually see for ourselves. And of course, the 16th Karmapa has also come here to KTD. He has granted his compassion and his blessings here. He has come here, and this gives you also the opportunity to practice here at KTD. This opportunity to practice here in KTD comes, of course, from the activity of all of the 17 Karmapas, but in particular, it comes from the activity of the 16th and the 17th Karmapas. So you're incredibly fortunate to have this ability to do this. And so in the future, if you can continue to come here and to practice, so you can continue to come here and listen to the Dharma and to practice the Dharma, if you do this, it will be very good and very beneficial for you. And so I am saying this to you as an encouragement to all of you. So that is enough for this evening. Tomorrow we will begin with the actual teaching on the Vajradhara lineage prayer. Thank you.
Yeah.